comes the Queen to the ballpark across 33rd Street. This was shot about 10-15 minutes ago as she pulls into the main area of the parking lot right in the front of the ballpark. A spectacular sight. Talking with Britt Hume from ABC News a few moments ago, and he said that you wouldn't believe how many people are covering this on the outside, following it all the way along. And for him, it's something that's a regular basis, being a part of the White House coverage team and all. But for me, it's kind of unique being in the sports field and watching this happen here at Baltimore's Memorial Stadium. And there she is.
You'll notice, Tom, she's not wearing a hat. She learned her lesson yesterday.
You can tell by the fan reaction here, even though it's so crowded around the dugout. You can see it on Diamond Vision here at the ballpark. At least the fans in the stands are able to see on the center field Diamond Vision, and you can see Mrs. Bush and the president.
Mrs. Bush has got the Queen a little blocked in our shot here, but maybe they'll adjust that for us. Yeah, you can see she looks like Mrs. Bush is looking out to that Diamond Vision shot as well, perhaps recognizing that she's in the shot. Look what she's doing here. She's trying to get him to move back. Here come the A's through the dugout.
Of course, you see Tony La Russa, the manager.
Now, there's some question, you know, as to whether you're supposed to shake hands with the Queen if she doesn't offer to shake hands with you. There was a press reception earlier, and she did extend her hand to everyone, but I can't tell from this shot whether she's doing that. The players seem absolutely unabashed about shaking hands. Very American. I think that's great.
Renee Lashman, one of the coaches. There's Reggie, hatless.
Yeah, wouldn't you know? I guess he learned. Well, I guess he saw she was hatless, right?
Can you imagine Reggie and the Queen going back to the Naked Gun move? Canseco is 33, of course.
Killed the frame.
So the A's have just about finished going through the entire A's ball team. Or no, they're still coming through from the bottom. We're somewhat screened out on the upper portion of the third base dugout. You can see some of the A's from the bottom coming through. There's Ricky Henderson. Does this become a point for you that it's not thrilling to see something like this?
Well, it was. At this press reception earlier today, I was pleased to have gotten a chance to meet the Queen of England. I mean, I remember when I was a boy growing up in Washington, going to a documentary movie at the old MacArthur Theater called The Coronation of Queen Elizabeth. And it was a hell of a big deal. And so for me to meet her today, just for a moment, I got a kick out of that. I really did. I enjoyed it. But you do reach the point after a while where merely seeing these people is no longer as exciting as it might once have been. But it's interesting. And you never know what's going to happen. And there was a wonderful scene in London when the president, in 1989, when the president was over there, and he went to Buckingham Palace to have lunch with the Queen and Prince Philip. And when the Bush limousine pulled up, the Secret Service have a rigid rule that nobody opens the doors to that limousine except the American Secret Service agents. So the president's agent, who was seated directly in front of him, jumped out of the car, opened the president's door, and it took a bit of time for him to make his way around the car, during which time Mrs. Bush was kind of cooling her heels in the back seat of the car while the palace staff just stood there. Well, the Queen, apparently knowing nothing of the security arrangements, was furious, and you could see her mouth move. We couldn't hear her, but you could see her say, "Open it, open it." And by the time any of the palace staff got there, the door had been opened for her, but she clearly didn't know what was going on. It was phenomenally entertaining to see all that.
See Cal Ripken Sr. coming through, hatless again, and Frank Robinson being grabbed by some of the national media there to talk to after he came through the reception line.
You notice, Tom, that most of the players are keeping their hats on.
Is there a protocol for that, or what?
I don't know the answer to that, but I kind of like it. I think that it's appropriate for them to be polite, but a lot of bowing and scraping before royalty is simply not the American way.
You can see Frank, he's just beyond us here, and he's being interviewed by some of the national media. Cal Ripken, and there's Chris Hoyles. I think this has gone almost as exactly as scheduled. It doesn't seem like it's been delayed at all.
Well, I must say this about the Bush schedule. It's and I think this is true for most presidents, and it's partly for security reasons. They don't like to have things delayed or the president being held in any location any longer than they had anticipated, because they can't control the environment for any extended period of time, and they're always trying to keep him moving. The other thing is President Bush is, I think, habitually prompt and restless anyway, so he tends to keep moving just by personality trait, so it makes it easier for them to keep the schedule moving. But in this situation, you knew this was going to go off on a schedule, televised ball game and all.
Just a reminder, you are watching live coverage of the Queen here in Baltimore, Maryland on Home Team Sports. And when this ceremony ends, we will be going to the Pittsburgh, Minnesota first game of the Stanley Cup Finals. And we will be back here for more baseball tomorrow night. Britt Hume sort of consented to help co-host this thing for the last 15 minutes, and I'm really appreciative of that, because you know, I feel very comfortable around baseball, but in your role I would feel very uncomfortable.
Well, thank you, Tom. I got a kick out of being here, though. There they go. I think they're going to head out now, and oh, they're getting a chance to see him because they're coming up on the field, which was not expected to happen. This was not expected to happen, so this is a kick for the fans, and they are responding. We were told on the way over here that they were going to take them back up through the stadium on the inside, and they would not put them out on the field. But look at that royal wave. It's kind of a minimalist wave. Yesterday, as she was leaving the South grounds at the White House, she gave a particularly elegant little wave. It was all done with the fingers. She put a little more wrist in that one.
Britt, you got potentials of being a play-by-play guy.
Not only for ceremonial events. Anything heavier than that, Tom, I'm lost. She told the president, apparently, that she doesn't know the first thing about baseball, but she understands it's a bit like cricket. Prince Philip, on the other hand, has told some of the guests at this press reception today that he actually learned the rules of American baseball and played it a bit before he ever played cricket. And when someone mentioned that to the Queen, she looked sort of dubious and said, "Wherever and whenever did he learn that?"